Alright guys, got the full live stream here. If you want to see live gameplay, go right to the 42-minute mark. Enjoy. Let me know what you think.
Okay. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Madden NFL 15 Twitch stream featuring gameplay. Joining me today, I am AJ. Joining me today is Creative Director of Madden NFL 15, Rex Dixon. What's up? Everybody knows Rex. Of course, my man, Narayan Glick, a.k.a. RG, also on the gameplay team, gameplay analyst, and serious Madden gamer. Used to be a tournament guy yourself, so a lot of guys will probably recognize you like that. What we wanted to do today is give you guys sort of a peek behind the curtains here at EA Sports. We're going to show you the creative presentation from Rex about gameplay, showing you the gameplay improvements this year for Madden NFL 15. Rex is just going to be walking through the gameplay. Other little things that you guys are really going to appreciate, but we're not really talking about presentation today or any of the modes, so just focus in on the gameplay side today. Presentation, and then we're actually going to jump into practice mode, and if we have time, we'll get into a little bit of a real game, but that's all up to us because I know you guys have a lot to go over. So this is the latest alpha build of Madden NFL 15, so let's go check it out. Rex, you want to go through the presentation real quick?
All right, thanks, AJ. As you mentioned, this is the creative deck that we generally basically use internally to talk about what features multiple times throughout the year. We take it to our meetings with Coach Madden. We show it to the NFLPA and the NFL, our licensing partners, as well as use it for creative alignment across the organization in terms of what we're building. So if you guys could go ahead and cut to the deck, we'll start walking through this. So the first slide there, EA Sports Madden 15 gameplay, that's our intro. And now we're moving into game features. There you see our new face scan of Luke Kuechly. And moving forward here, we had one simple goal this year in gameplay. And obviously we have a lot of goals, but the one major overriding theme that we challenged ourselves to achieve this cycle, make defense fun in Madden. This actually goes back several years from when I first time on OS and other places, and hearing people and reviewers quote things like defense isn't fun, defense isn't boring, I usually sim defense, or my least favorite is I'm a detriment to my team when I play defense. So as a game designer and a creative director, and you realize that if 50% of your game is the defense that they're simming it, that means we have a lot of work to do, and that's what we challenge ourselves to do this cycle. It starts with a couple of new defensive cameras. If you've played NCAA football before, actually I'm having a bit of a moment this week because it was NCAA football's release this week, and since I don't have it to play, it's kind of like this huge gaping hole in my life where previously this awesome game was. Out there, we really do hope to bring it back to you at some point in the future. So that notwithstanding, if you played NCAA before, you're familiar with the player lock camera. That you're not locked onto that player. You can still player lock, but the defensive camera allows you to switch. And again, you do this by D-padding all the way in when you're on defense in an offline game, and that allows you to see the game from the defensive traditional perspective, and you can see the right end for the Broncos there and how it would traditionally have been played. And if we move ahead one more slide, you can see how the defensive camera looks like. So now you're seeing the action from the defensive side of the ball. Again, we have unique angles depending on your position. If you're a D tackle, it's going to be positioned right behind you. If you're a DN, it's a little bit of an angle. We always want to make sure that you can see the ball as well. This is actually really cool if you're playing safety and play your position versus trying to play the whole field. We really like this feature.
I'm going to interrupt you real quick. So there was some confusion about what the difference might be between defensive camera and defensive player lock. Can you explain a little bit about what the difference is besides just locking on?
Sure. The main fundamental difference is that with the defensive camera, we allow you to switch players. And it takes a little bit of practice. Can you imagine if I'm using a defensive lineman and I'm rushing the passer and all of a sudden that pass gets released and then I want to switch back to a D-back, we actually have the camera tracking back fast enough that you can still make a play on the ball. It's definitely something that takes in that way. RG, any comments on the defense?
I haven't dug into it too much yet, but when I do rush the passer with J.J. Watt and, Clowney, I had to get on him right away. I went on it, and I was wreaking havoc out there. So when I get on my CFM, it's something I'll definitely be messing around with.
Yeah, I think for people who enjoy CFM player mode, this is going to be a big breakthrough feature if you like to play as a defender. So that's the new defensive camera, and obviously we have our new offensive cameras as well that are all toggleable at the line with the D-pad. So moving on to our new defensive line mechanics. The first defensive line mechanics actually starts at the snap. So a few years ago, Madden had a feature called was fairly poorly implemented in our eyes. And we get some criticism sometimes for selling new features that were in the game previously, but honestly, if myself as a creative director doesn't feel that the feature that was implemented previously is quality, because when you study defensive linemen and the way they come off the ball, timing the snap and getting that quick jump is actually essential to being a good defensive lineman. And there was no way we could build a set of defensive line mechanics without achieving that. The other thing is, a lot of people sell us there's not enough penalties in the game, and they want an authentic simulation football game. And if you study the NFL, you'll know that offsides. This feature delivers that. You'll see 2 or 3 false start offsides penalties every game just by nature of how this feature works. And basically how it works is when the ball is snapped, you're timing the right trigger, which on the ball. Not only do you get a jump start, but it actually gives you bonuses to beat your blocker. So you get a slight increase in your win chances if you perform the mechanic successfully. Now the risk is, if you're early, you stand the risk of jumping off sides or getting an encroachment penalty. If you're early, you also stand the risk of getting a debuff to your win chances, which lineman. Same thing if you're late. Basically, if you're coming out of your stance late, there's a good chance the offensive lineman is going to absolutely bury you and pancake you. So there's a lot of good risk rewards in this mechanic, and you'll see that theme stitched through the rest of these defense mechanic.
Oh, absolutely. It's a fantastic feature, and for anyone that's out there that's a hardcore Madden gamer, me and Rex have discussed this, most hardcore gamers never use their D lineman. It was always your safety or your linebacker or whatnot. So we really wanted to make sure that anybody could use this mechanic. So Rex would see me throughout there, hey, you need to get on your D lineman, you need to get on your D lineman. Eventually I stopped being stubborn, I started using the mechanic, and I was wreaking havoc. It's actually a part of my game plan now, especially in 3rd and long situations. And that's when we knew, like, if the hardcore guys could even use this, you're onto something, and it's a great feature.
Now, RG, I remember a point very early on in the cycle. I think you and I were playing a game, and I was playing the defensive line, and you said, I quote, "I don't respect opponents to you that you don't know how to play secondary in Madden." So I'm going to ask you again now. Do you now have more respect for people who play defensive line in this game?
Yeah, absolutely. I've taken a few L's, as much as I hate to admit it to people that are using their D-linemen. So I'm going to have to retract my statement, and it's going to open up a whole new way to play defense on Madden, whether you're a casual user or you're trying to play on a high level. It's one of the funnest mechanics in the game, for sure.
Yeah, I can attest, being a big Broncos fan, that playing with Von Miller on that outside, flipping the camera around, jumping this, just getting around the outside with those skill moves, it's a lot of fun.
And for those of you guys, I've seen a lot of comments on the forums about, well, it'll be overpowered because it's a lead feature. We spent a lot of time trying to balance this mechanic. It can feel OP, but only if you're using a really elite guy like J.J. Watt against. Success with this feature is about finding those ratings mismatches and getting like your star defensive lineman matched up against a weaker offensive lineman, and you multiple playing against a good offensive line. So it's a really cool feature. Off the line, it's called. Moving on, the next big feature we want to starts with our new idea called block steering. And what this allows you to do as a defensive lineman is hold gaps, basically hang on to your block and steer the blocker. Do contain stuff. You're not basically locked in an animation that's in a fixed position anymore. You can use your left stick to do is get an offensive lineman off balance. So if I flick the left stick in one direction, I might see his shoulders go like that. That's my cue to then perform like an inside rip or some other counter pass rush. You move the left stick left a right, and that'll allow you to block steer. The next piece is the pass rush mechanics. So if you're looking at the slide, you see that X button over the heads of your players. This is part of our theory about why, one of the reasons why defense wasn't fun is there was no user feedback. You were just kind of spamming buttons and hoping for the best outcome. But now buttons will show you when windows are open for you to perform move. You'll have positive feedback if you're successful with like a green ripple, negative feedback with a red ripple. Now I know there's a lot of people, hardcore sim heads especially, they're like, why are you putting this stuff in the game? It's not sim. Here's my argument. When we introduce new mechanics, if we don't have feedback systems, how are people supposed to learn how to use it? The idea here is that once you understand where the windows are, what the timing is, like what the distances are to match tackles, then you can shut the options off once you feel comfortable with it. But I would encourage you to play with these mechanics and these icons on until you get used to the mechanic, and then turn them off in the settings if that's what you prefer. Timing windows with those mechanics off. You could even lab with it for a few hours. You'll get a sense of it. But generally, I found after 4 or 5 games, you'll feel comfortable with it. If you want sim, you can shut it off. So again, pass rush mechanics. What we've done majorly this year is we've taken it off the right stick. The problem I had with the right stick is people were just spamming it and jamming it over and over. We want this to be more strategic, more about timing, so we moved it off right stick to X and square on the PS4. And that maps to your power and finesse move mechanics. You're going to want to choose the right move based on who the defender you're using is. Obviously, in Adamic Sue, you use a lot of power moves. An outside edge rusher, you want a lot of more finesse and speed moves. Clowney's a great example of a finesse guy. You want to use off the line and then your finesse moves to beat the tackle. So again, we've added hundreds of new pass rush animations, rips, swims, push pulls, clubs, bull rushes, etc. We've updated all the animations that were in the game before. I have found in my experience playing the game this cycle that you can kind of change the outcome of a game with a good pass rush. Our quarterbacks are very effective this year. We've trained them with real AI, and pass rush is the #1 way to shut down a drive this year in my estimation. RG, anything to add?
One thing that I really like when you were talking about the block steering, Rex, is another aspect of that is you can actually collapse the pocket with your D lineman. So you could steer them left or right, but if you want to just collapse the pocket and kind of put pressure on the quarterback, you can do that. And that's something I love because I used to always, the ball would get snapped, I'm setting up my defense, I get stuck on my DT, I'm spamming the right stick, and it's either I played a win or a loss, and that was it. But now, sometimes you don't have to go for the win, sometimes you don't have to go for the loss. You can kind of just disrupt the quarterback by collapsing that pocket, and that's something you see every day on Sunday. So
absolutely.
The first time I did that, it felt great. It still feels great. I'm really excited for people to get their hands on it.
And we got a lot more from you on keeping people contained in the pocket to come. We know that's been a big community exploit thing for years, and we definitely got some stuff for that. Next piece, directional block shedding. Previously in Madden, block shedding was either like automated or you had the disengage where you pulled back away from the guy and ran upfield. My issue was, you know, I need a way to get off a block contextually when a ball carrier is nearby me. In other words, if I'm in a blocking animation, able to into a tackle. People who felt like previously, if I got sucked into a block or I'm in a blocking animation, I'm out of the play, so I need to. But now there's actually value in staying on the guy who's being blocked because you can hold your gap, wait until the running back hits the hole, press A in that transition directly into a tackle. It kind of changes the game in terms of run defense in our game. Big feature. I think you guys will really like it. I know the community's been asking for reach tackles for quite some time. We're very happy to deliver it this year. The next piece we're going to talk about is our tackling mechanics. I could do a huge list for you of everything that was wrong with tackling in the past in Madden, but basically what it boils down to is nobody really understood what the correct distance to actually get a tackle in. There was no helpers, and getting facing direction at the speed that Madden moves is traditionally very difficult. We also had a very high penalty for mistiming a tackle where you would just flop on your face and just do a dive and land on the turf. But if you look at that behavior, it's not something you actually see in the NFL. So we needed to fix that. The risk shouldn't be that your player is doing something you'd never see in real life, right? The risk should be more about you just making the wrong decision for that situation. About choosing the right tackle for the situation with a bunch of helpers so that you actually understand what you're supposed to do when and at what distance. So we have four types of tackles this year. button on the PS4, the A button on Xbox One. You can modify that with LT plus A for a breakdown conservative tackle. And then our big one is X from in close performs a hit stick, and X from distance will perform a dive tackle and take out the guy's legs. I know the tackle cone's been kind of controversial, but once you play with it, what it does is it teaches you what distance the ball carrier needs to be at before you perform one of these tackle mechanics. Because the other big changes previously in Madden, you actually a tackle. And in real life, it just doesn't work that way. When you're a yard or and lunge. So we've changed that this year, and basically as soon as he's in your tackle cone, you can actually match tackles. So it doesn't actually require a perfect collision where your part of your body is hitting their body for you to match. And I think it actually makes tackling not only more effective, but actually it looks better in game. It looks more realistic than it has in the past. And I think internally we found that people are having a lot more success making tackles in the open field, a lot less whiffing on their faces. Moving on to coverage. So we can't build a defensive story without fixing coverage. And for those of you who played Madden 25 Gen 3, I'll formally apologize for the state we shipped coverage in that year. It was soft, it was problematic, it was very difficult to stop drives. You will not find that this year. Defense is definitely back this year. It's more important than ever to make good reads. Basically, we've changed a lot in coverage. Everything from pathfinding to logic to choosing what to do on a certain pass play based on your position relative to the receiver. But probably the biggest thing we've done is how they break on the throw and zone coverage. That was the big game from the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Stevenson Sylvester, who recently went from the Steelers to Buffalo, come in and work with us for a week. And we got so in-depth that these guys actually had to call Pittsburgh defensive coordinator Dick LeBeau to get permission to tell us how it was that they were being taught to play. And basically what they told us is they don't wait for the ball to come out. As soon as a quarterback locks his shoulders in a direction, they break in that direction. They talk to us a lot about how they play like a flat zone. You don't jump the flat, you sit between the curl and the flat and force the quarterback to make a difficult decision. We've made a lot of changes in coverage. You will find very soon that routes that used to be wide open aren't open anymore, that cover 2 is shutting down the areas of the field it's supposed to, same with cover 3, and now it's holes being open and recognizing your defense and knowing what route to throw that's going to beat that coverage. The next piece as we move back to so my hardcore community guys that are watching out there, this is your robo quarterback complaint. I've had it for a few years now. Passing on a tether is another thing that I think you guys like to refer to it as. Generally, in the past in Madden, we had 2 types of accuracy. It's either going to be perfectly accurate and hit you in the number, or it's going to be inaccurate. It's going to be wildly inaccurate and land 30 yards away from the player. What we've added is slightly inaccurate. And that can miss in, I think, 12 different directions from the receiver. So you can miss low, low out in front, high out in front, high. It's slightly inaccurate is the receiver can actually make catches on those balls. So what you're going to see is a whole bunch of new catch animations that you've never seen in Madden before. We also have uncatchable balls that players won't just stand there and do nothing. If they can't match a catch now, instead of standing there and doing nothing, they'll actually play an effort. They'll actually ball, even though the ball's uncatchable. So that's what this all does to the quarterback position is a real game changer, because now there's a real separation between pocket passers or really accurate guys like Peyton Manning and Tom Brady and everybody else of the rest of the pack. Accuracy is a big deal in the game this year. It's a fundamental game changer. You will find that there's occasions where you have 3rd and long and a receiver wide open, and if there's a guy in your face, you might get an inaccurate pass and miss the throw. It can happen to your opponent too. It tends to balance itself out. But the big whole subbing in the speedy quarterback for the Peyton Manning problem.
I have a bunch of friends that still play this game competitively. I still go to tournaments, and I still like to get my feet wet and rock with these guys. I'm still a pretty good player, and I noticed that almost everyone I was playing at one point last year was picking the Bengals, but there was no Dalton. It was Josh Johnson in the game, just because of his speed. His passing numbers were terrible. But these guys were still lighting me up for like 400 yards a game, and I know how to play defense. I didn't make any sense to me. I mean,
saw a guy in my CFM trade Peyton Manning for Terrell Pryor.
There it is.
That's why we built this feature. It's big. It's a game changer. It's not like the pass accuracy features they and path of the ball is modeled, and that has a huge outcome on the game. All right, moving on. Also on the offensive side of the ball, Real AI. So last year, we did a lot of work with Real AI on our ball carrier. And to not go into too much detail, but what Real AI does is instead of some engineer going in and coding a behavior, it allows someone to go into the game, Madden, with the sticks just like this, and record patterns. In other words, when I do something cool or when I make a great read, I'm telling the game, record that pattern, match that. When the game discovers that the game conditions match that same situation, the pattern you registered, it'll repeat that exact behavior. And when you're looking at this slide here, you'll see Cam Newton sitting with a lot of our dev. When you play Cam Newton in the game as the Panthers, what the behavior you're getting is actually Cam on the sticks, the reads he's making, the routes he's throwing. So what you're going to find here is our quarterback AI is dramatically more effective than they've been in the past. You know, I think, you know, having the AI play effectively and competitively, a lot of people complain you can't get a good game from the CPU on All-Pro. I can guarantee you that is not the case this year. They can tear you up. They make really good decisions, they make good reads, and it's all because of Real AI. We actually, our main designer working on this is a former Florida Gator quarterback named Larry Rehart. So when you're playing the game against the AI, that's who you're playing against. Moving on to pre-play adjustments, I won't go into too much detail because RG is going to cover this in depth once we go into the lab, but we've added a ton of new pre-play adjustments. Most of these are to deal with exploits, things that are ruining online play. That takes us through the deck. Obviously, we worked on a ton more stuff. These are the high-level things, but we don't want to wait too long to get into the game. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to RG, and we're going to lab a little bit.
Let's do it. Let's do it. So one thing, when Madden used to always come out as, you know, someone that was hardcore and liked to play the game competitively, one thing I would always notice is there was a lot of cool under the hood, you know, kind of low-key features that would be in the game. All the back-of-the-box stuff was great, but I would always find, you know, these little undercover features, and I'd end up using them all year, and they were great. So we want to touch on some of that stuff. So we could go right in here into practice and, you know, go over some of this stuff. So if you want to just pick a pass play, Rex.
You want to do the wide 9 thing?
Oh, we can do wide 9. So a big problem in the game last year, and believe me, I went through this too, as all of you guys did, was the outside run game. As you can see on the screen right here, the buck sweep play, very effective. It was extremely hard to stop the outside run. Our engineer team, our dev team, they took that feedback and they took it very seriously. Now there's multiple new defensive formations in the game that are built to stop these types of high-powered outside run schemes. So we're going to go into one of them right here. They're all called, they're wide defensive formations. So this is a nickel 3-3-5 wide.
All right, guys, so we got Panthers versus Saints here.
Yes, and as you can see, there's a bunch of people in the box. Rex going to go to one of his money runs, and they don't stop it. You know, you could still have a chance to break a big run, but as you can see, how often did you see that happen against Buck Sweep last year?
Yeah, so the key I want to point out here with this, and this is critical, you guys have been asking for this for years, and we actually, we put a lot of time into making sure this was right. This is a DN and a 9 technique. Now, a 9 technique is well outside of the tackle here. The problem we had previously is even though you had guys in a 9 of engaging the outside shoulder like this and set the edge, they'd come in and engage like this. Basically, out here on their split, and then they'd engage like this. That's not football. A guy in a 9 technique needs to engage the outside shoulder and watch the edge. So watch here. Here he comes. Boom, outside shoulder. You see immediately he starts fighting to set that edge. Gets off the block, makes the tackle. So your DNs aren't going to get reached anymore every time you run that play. And again, that's the wide 9 set where you're going to get that contained type behavior and set the edge.
And those can be found in nickel, 4-3, and then we also made some adjustments to the 3-4 defense where it's not 3-4 wide, but we did spread the outside linebackers out a little bit so they could have some better containment on those outside runs. Really cool stuff. We got a lot to cover.
Sweep is getting stopped.
Let's run it again and make sure that it works multiple times. You still in the wide 9 here?
Yeah, I'm in there. It works more often than not, I can tell you that much. As you can see, he ain't really going nowhere.
He beat the end, but then the force defender came up and blew up the play. That's something the coaches in the NFL, you know, a few of them come down and have been working with us on that whole force defender thing. We've been doing a lot of work to try to get that in.
Okay, another thing I want to go over is a whole new hot route that we put into the game, and it's called Bluff Blitz. Bluff Blitz replaces the old Contain hot route, but don't worry, Contain's still in the game. We'll get into that, how to use it. But But what Bluff Blitz does is we're gonna pick a new play here, and what it'll allow you to do is you can hot route your defenders who are off the line of scrimmage to Bluff Blitz, and what they're gonna do is make their initial move towards the quarterback like they're gonna rush them, but then drop back into their coverage assignment. I use it all the time. I've caught a bunch of people slipping, so one of the favorite things I like to do with it is call a two-man under, just a normal two-man under, and as you can see here, I'm gonna put both my safeties in Bluff Blitz. I pull up the play art, you can see on the play art on the screen that it shows them blitzing, but then dropping back into their coverage, and this could really mess with people's initial read. So if you go ahead and snap the ball, Rex, you'll see they make their initial move down like they're gonna blitz, they drop back, still in position to defend the deep ball. Calvin Benjamin got a little bit nasty right there.
See how strong my game is. RG can't stop me, by the way.
That was a nice spec
Rex
catch.
has been getting better.
So if you bluff blitz your inside linebacker, what we're going to do here is look at I got my slot on a curl here. And basically, if he bluff blitzes this linebacker, he's going to come down. Me as the user, I'm going to read that as, oh, he's blitzing, that's open. And then he backs up into the...
You saw the
You
guy
see it right
covering
there.
the
You
tight
saw
end.
him drop down, and then he came back out. This can really be used to confuse your opponents online, especially people who like to throw drags and slants over the middle. They'll see that guy blitzing. They'll be like, it's going to be there, and then he'll drop right back into it.
We'll move on to another one, and this is one of my favorites. So for years in Madden, anyone that's familiar with the game knows we've always had the smart route mechanic on offense. What smart route does is it allows you to extend certain routes to the first down marker. If you're running a curl and it's third down, you want to make sure it goes to the first down marker. Now what we've done is we've given you that ability on the defensive side of the ball as well. So you can call protect the sticks, and what it will do is drop your hook, your buzz, and your flat zones to the first down marker, so they guard anything that's trying to be thrown at the first down marker, and they don't let anything that's in front of them get that first down. You will be a little bit susceptible to any routes that extend past the first down marker, but it's a great mechanic. So Rex, why don't you go ahead and let me see your defensive play here. Why don't you hot route to that pass you had right there. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to call protect the sticks, and you'll see this flat route that I'm controlling right here on the left side of the field. I'm going to call protect the sticks. The square receiver is going to be running an out route. In previous Maddens, there's no way this flat would be able to stop a 10-yard out route. But with protect the sticks, now he's going to drop to that 10-yard marker, and he should play that out route very well. Go ahead and snap the ball, Rex. Try to... I believe you got to cancel the play action. The play action kind of, I don't think that guy's awareness is that great.
I'll just use this replay as an example. Some of you online have been talking about the pass accuracy feature and not really believing that it's going to spawn all these new catches. This is one of those efforts I talked to you about earlier. So here you can see the pass accuracy. Out route to the sideline, difficult route to throw, obviously. This one's a little high and out in front. You can see that that's not catchable, but look at that animation. He's going to play an animation to make it look like he's trying to make the catch anyway. Last year, he would have just stood there and just let the ball go by him because it wasn't catchable. Right. So that's the pass accuracy feature in action right there.
Beautiful.
And they kind of throw it all over the place too, not just leading them, but if you're trying to throw low, they can skip it off the turf or whatever, right?
Yep.
So let me show off this protect the sticks right there, because I think you got him to bite on the play action a little bit, which can happen. You know, guys play recognition rating and all that. So what I want you to do, Rex, is I want you to smart route that X route right there. So you press triangle, X.
Oops. Sorry.
It's all good, it's all good. Oh, you picked QB draw. Let me pick the new play here.
So one of the things people notice is the visuals here. A lot's been done. We're gonna talk about visuals more in another one, but you know, you'll notice right off the bat, new player models, textures, everything looks, I mean, the lighting looks incredible. All right, so there's...
So what we got right here, AJ, is that 10-yard out route that the triangle receiver is running right there. So I'm gonna call this guy, I'm gonna call protect the sticks, and what should happen initially here is the flat zone defender on the left side should ride with him to that 10-yard marker. So go ahead and snap the ball, Rex. As you can see, the triangle, as you can see, the flat route is all over it. Whereas in previous Maddens, he's not going to be able to get that deep because he didn't have that logic. So it's a really cool feature, and it complements the smart route mechanic on offense very well. I'm very excited about that one.
So that was just using protect the sticks?
Right there, yep, and that's how I got the defender to kind of ride with him.
Just be warned with that mechanic. Oh, nice catch. You know, if you use protect the sticks, you're going to leave yourself open to a deep route over the top. So you have to be very careful with it.
Yeah. Another time it works really good is in short yardage situations. So if it's 2nd and 1 and you know your guy's going to run some drags, call the cover 2, protect the sticks. Your hook stones come out and they start pressing those drag routes, and it's fantastic. I know people are going to love it.
All right, Rex, we quickly got through it in the presentation because I know people wanted to see gameplay, but the quarterback, like calling hot routes, that's changed a little bit. You'll notice people, you might be watching and notice the little helmet yelling calls pops up under the icon. Explain that to us a little bit.
Well, that's something we're going to have to show off in game. It doesn't take into account in practice mode. But basically, in previous Maddens, anyone that played competitively knew you could break the huddle and put 5 or 6 hot routes into the play before your team even set at the line of scrimmage. You just see the screen, boom, 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 boom. It was ridiculous. So now what we do is once you make a hot route, before you can make your next hot route, the quarterback needs to do a Peyton Manning type cadence animation to alert his receiver, and he'll actually point to the direction of the receiver. So if you hot route your receiver on the right, he's going to point to that guy, hey, you got a hot route, and before you can make your next hot route, you got to wait for that animation to be finished. And it also gives the defense time to set up and adjust to what the offense is doing. And it takes a little bit of getting used to, but it's great for the balance of the game. I love it, and it's really helped me a lot, and the flow of the game is much better.
It's another big nod to authentic realism. You know, if you watch people playing Madden competitively in years past, dialing in 30 freaking pre-play adjustments, and you know, it just isn't realistic to the game. If you talk to any quarterback, they'll give you an idea of how many different checks they can make, how long it takes them to actually communicate it, make sure the receiver recognizes it. It's all just based off real-world data that got back to us from the NFL guys.
A good compliment, while we're on that subject, a really good compliment to that feature is a new component to our slide protection. So if you want to come out in a formation, Rex, that has a tight end and a halfback, kind of like a gun normal. I'm on offense, so I could do that here. So slide protection, the max protect is a great complement to this. So what that does is, we'll bring it up on the screen here. So everyone knew in previous Maddens we had slide protection. You could slide your line left, right, pinch, or we used to have aggressive slide protection. We've removed aggressive slide protection because it didn't really do too much in previous Maddens, and we've changed that with max protect. What that will do is put your tight ends and your running back into a blocking assignment in one adjustment. So you don't have to individually block. As you can see on the screen, I got, you know, my tight ends on flat routes. You call max protect, and in one adjustment, they're both going to be blocking with my running back. So you don't need to wait for that cadence animation, because in the NFL, if a quarterback wants to max protect, he's just going to call max protect, and the team's going to know what to do. So it's a great complement to the cadence animations, and if you need to stop that blitz, I suggest calling max protect rather than individually hot routing, you know, the tight end and then the running back, and you know, that could get tedious.
Yeah, it takes a long time. That's a nice little chess move too with the Bluff blitz. So a guy could be sending a lot of blitzes, then all of a sudden you decide, oh man, I better max protect. Now he's got extra coverage out there for your less receiver, so it's a really cool, I like that.
And we recognize that. That's one of the things that's always been beautiful about Madden, is no matter what there is in the game, there's always usually a counter for it. And that's something that we take very serious, and we do, I feel we do a very good job on that.
And one of the reasons we had to build this, guys, is meaning as much time as you have in pocket in Madden should equal how much time they actually have in the NFL, which is not that much time, and certainly not what you're used to in playing Madden. So you're going to get a lot more heat, and this is one of the tools we give you to deal with that. I strongly also recommend you understand the concept of a hot read, or having like a quick hitch route or a slant route that you can dump off to if that blitz comes or if you're getting intense pressure. Next thing we're going to show you here is disguise defenses. We'll go back to play call. And then we'll show you what this looks like. RG, you're on defense, so why don't you walk us through this feature?
Yeah. So this is one that I'm very excited about. So as most users knew in Madden, you could pretty much always tell what type of defense your opponent was in. You knew if there was 2 high safeties, they were in either a cover 2 zone, a cover 2 sink, or a 2-man under. One safety, you know, was kind of a cover 3 or a you know, all-out blitz. Or if there was 2 safeties and the DBs were pressed, you knew it was some sort of cover 4 or whatnot. So what we did in Madden this year is we actually have some disguised defenses, and these are awesome. So for example, Go here. As you see, the square play on my screen right here is a cover 2, show 4. So you select that play, and we'll come out to the line of scrimmage, and as you can see, my defense is backed up like we're in a cover 4. We're giving them a cover 4 look, but it's really a cover 2 type defense. I'll audible to a cover 2 real quick just so you could see the difference. You see those DBs move in, so that's what a normal cover 2 would look like, and people knew that, and they could always read that. So now with these new defensive plays in the game, they're all over the place. We have them for cover 2, cover 4, cover 6, cover 3. Your opponent's really going to have trouble making a pre-snap read on you. It becomes more about a post-snap read because you're able to disguise that defense, and that's when strategy really comes into play.
So what I'm seeing here is I'm seeing he's in cover 4, and that corner's an off man. My curl's going to be wide open. What I don't know is he's actually in cover, cover 2. Show cover 4, but he's actually going to go to cover 2. So watch what happens to my curl route, which should be there in a cover versus cover 4. You see how fast he came down and took away that flat. So that's an example of really a new tool on defense to confuse your opponent. They'll think they're seeing one thing, and then post-snap, they'll shift into another.
My favorite one to use out of these is we have some that are like a cover 2, show 6, and everybody always kind of, knew what cover 6 was. There was a flat guy down there, and one guy was high. It was always, when that happened, you knew it was cover 6. So now you could, call a 2-man under, but it looks like a cover 6, and it really throws people off. I can't count how many people I've picked off using this strategy throughout the cycle. So I'm really excited about that one.
So the next thing we're going to show you, we've been actually. Basically, you're playing someone online, and they like to roll out of the pocket. And they like to roll out and tempt your D-back to come down and then throw over the top of his head. And, some people run their entire offense this way. And our community guys were begging us for a tool to help them shut down people who would unrealistically roll out of the pocket, pull the defense down. And that basically inspired Clint Oldenburg, our blocking designer, to build a concept called quarterback contain, which pursuit angle to the quarterback will play kind of like patty cake with the DN. And if you watch Johnny Manziel play for Texas A&M, you see a lot of SEC defenses did this. They didn't hard rush him. They just needed to contain him in the pocket so he couldn't scramble out. So we're going to show you how that works now.
And just to touch on that a little bit, Rex, you can call plays that have contain built into them, or you can make the pre-play adjustment to call contain at the line of scrimmage by simply pressing L2, left trigger on Xbox One, to pull up your defensive keys, and then press R1 for QB contain, and that'll put most outside rushers into contain assignments.
Very cool.
So go ahead and show them what the pre-play looks like.
So here's the pre-play. You can see my outside guys in contains.
So I'm going to roll out here with Cam and try to hit this drag, and we'll see how this DN does against it.
And yeah, it's not happening. You're not going to be able to.
Getting up slow too.
Yeah, you're going to have a hard time rolling out against that. And if you stand
I
in
got
the
lucky right there.
If you could stand in the pocket, Rex, don't try me, man. Oh my gosh. When you're on fire, man. I got to admit it.
I think we're also on pro, so.
If you kind of stand there, though, Rex, without rolling out, you could see that mush rush, too, and it makes for a much more realistic NFL feel, because before in our game, our DNs would just be standing out there in no man's land and contained, and you would never see that on NFL Sunday, so it's so much more authentic.
You can see it in the replay right there. Really cool how they stick and hold position while I'm in the pocket. You see them right there, no pressure, they're just hanging out there. And as soon as I hit the scramble button and try to roll out, boom, he's off. And pursuit, and boom, there's the tackle.
This is one of my favorite new mechanics in the game. It's fantastic.
So that's the contain mechanic. The next thing we're going to show you is the kick meter, or do you want to
sit here and talk about this stuff all day long? There's so much, but they're going to have to wait till the game drops to get their hands on everything.
So, bad news, Rex. We can't show the team select menu just because we got to save the ratings, man. We're still hiding those ratings.
See, the ratings
we gotta surprise
more
everybody.
Power than you realize, and he basically laid the hammer down. D. Moore, my buddy, the ratings are, and said, do not show my ratings in this Twitch stream. I got a big announcements coming up, so please cut to our ugly mugs while we go through the team select. Oh my God, I can't believe they got the Rams rated that high. Just kidding.
Broncos, Chargers, RG?
All right,
What do you want to do?
That's fine. I can play with the Chargers. Get Phillip Rivers.
We're going to let AJ and RG play a little bit here. I'll do the live commentary.
Coolio. All pro?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're not man enough for all Madden.
What do you mean? I didn't start playing All Pro till I started working here. But in all seriously, the game's fine on all skill levels. I think we did a great job at tuning each skill level for what the user wants, and we have a beautiful boot flow that complements all of that, and I think this is the best we've done with skill levels all year, especially since we untied the sliders from
Now, as they're loading in, we're going to talk a little bit about our approach to balancing the game this year. I learned a very valuable lesson my first balance. And anything being OP or anything being too loose can kind of ruin online play and just ruin the game because it doesn't feel competitive enough to retain your interest for weeks and weeks and months. So balancing the game became very important. And the way we did that is we went through NFL stats. And we basically looked at, quarterback, how many yards throwing, how many yards rushing on average, how many sacks per game on average, how many penalties in game on average. And we set a set of target statistics scaled based on Madden's game time. And all year long, we were netting out hundreds and hundreds of games played internally. Are those stats matching up to our target stats? And we would tune and tweak the game to make sure those numbers matched up. And what we resulted in at the end of the day is one of the most balanced Maddens you will ever play. And I think, RG's a hardcore tournament guy. I think he'd agree with me. We've all gotten beat by the computer on All Pro this year.
Oh, man, you're going to ruin
You
my
almost
street
lost
cred.
on Pro that one time when we had that.
You trying to just kill my street cred completely out here, man?
All right, so we're in game now, so we can cut back to the game. We'll watch RG and AJ play here, and I'll talk about the features as we see them.
Little Nance and Sims.
Yeah, I don't want to blow the graphic guy's story here, but man, the game looks fantastic this year. They really brought their A game. They took your criticisms to heart that Madden 25 Gen 4 didn't look Gen 4 enough, and they really blew it out. I think you'll love the way the players look, the uniform, the lighting is just phenomenal versus last year. And obviously all the cameras with our new presentation director, Brian Murray from the NFL Films. Hopefully we get one of those new kickoff cameras here so you can see how cool it is. The whole game's being shot like an NFL broadcast would be shot. So there you see the new kicking arc. Allows you a little bit more control over ball placement. It lets you coffin corner a little bit easier.
Which you can turn off.
Yes.
See that question from a lot of people.
Yeah, it turns off by default on All Madden as well. Once you set the game to All Madden, we understand that you're an expert, so all the visual feedback disappears on All Madden by default. But you could set anything you want on just by going to the settings menu.
And there you see as the quarterback runs out. I'm blowing presentation story here, but actual NFL Films footage. That's a really cool feature that everybody loves. One of the big things in game this year, there you see new play call. I won't go into this in detail. We have another dev blog or Twitch stream where we're going to talk about this in detail, but completely redone play call this year.
I like the little...
If you could hot route so we could see the delay icon.
Yeah.
That was Peyton. And there you can see that little icon light up. It tells him he's communicating an audible. And when it's off, that means you can do another audible. So that's how that feature works.
So I can oh well, there's going to be a false start.
I see what you were getting. I see what you were getting at, though, and that's a really good point with the fake snap, I believe. More
now,
important than ever this year.
It's really interesting that just happened. I talked earlier about how we tried to tune up the penalties, and what you saw right there is AJ did one too many hot routes, and as you saw in the Super Bowl, too many checks at the line and too many sort of communications. All of a sudden, the ball snapped over your head for a safety, as RG can refer to, which happened in the flag football tournament this year.
I caught you offside. So basically, what happens when you fake the snap? It causes the other guy's controller to rumble, which is the same indication you get when they do snap the ball to try and jump the snap. So it's a nice way to trick your
It's more fantastic than ever. Fake snap is relevant in Madden for the first time, in my opinion. And it's fun.
Oh, I got Sanders. Can I get him?
Oh, good jump ball.
Whew. And that's one thing that's improved in Madden greatly this year with the pass coverage is defenders actually play the ball, and it feels great. You get those jump ball situations, and they aggressively attack it at the catch point. It's amazing. It's one of my favorite changes
There's
by
all
far.
new logic for them deciding whether to play a swat, a catch, or a hit on the receiver based on their position relative to the receiver, relative to the ball. Oh, big pass rush on the screen. He gets it off.
Oh.
And there's that conservative tackle.
Whew. RG's tough.
Still got it.
So I'm going with coach suggestions here.
One of the
My
big
play
things you
call.
guys are probably going to notice as you watch this is post-play. Everything that used to be an NIS or a scripted cutscene is now shot dynamically in real time. So you'll see all this action is happening dynamically on the field live. It's not a cutscene, and Brian Murray and our presentation team will shoot that live. They will cut to whatever player is playing the most interesting reaction. It flows really nicely. But the main thing is the players on the field are reflecting the emotion of the previous play.
Make use of that.
We haven't talked about it a whole lot. I'll new animations to pre-play. We call it our pre-play fidget system. Previous years in Madden, what would happen is once the players got in their stance, they would be completely static. They would just be stiff and sit there. And notice there's a lot of communication going around, a lot of movement, guys jawing each other, giving signals to the backs. So as we watch this next play, pay attention. Activity there is. This is all part of player sense, making players feel alive, making them not feel like video game characters. You see there the center look back through his legs. There's the tackle, left tackle settling in. The right guard just settled into his stance.
So I jumped the snap correctly there, but I still didn't necessarily get a winner on the outside, so you're not guaranteed.
That's the ratings mismatch we talked about.
Yeah.
Was that Von Miller you're using?
No, I was using
That's what you get.
Where. I think it's time for Von Miller, though. I think you're right.
All right, he's bringing the heat, RG. Let's see what you got for him.
I'm just going to run the ball. You're trying to pass rush me with I know better than to mess with Von Miller this year.
Oh, watch it. Oh, almost. But you can see right there, if you're watching the left defensive end, even in the run game, that jump snap can be a powerful tool. Almost got him from the backside right there.
How about some of the CA this year, Rex? It feels so much better when you're running with your ball carrier between the tackles.
Absolutely.
Between the center and the
Player
guard.
Sense 2.0. I know we just released the trailer and it's primarily focused on coverage, but make no mistake, contextual awareness or the ability to behave appropriately on a collision is now all over the field. We've done a lot of work on our ball carrier CAs through the line. Even when receivers in the past were running on routes and collided, they would either blip around each other or run into each other and look terrible. Now they actually play avoidance moves to get around each other. And the interesting part about it is a lot of it can affect route timing and stuff like that. So all these factors of collision and these intangible events that happen on any given football play are now reflected in the game, and they can screw up your route timing and change the way things play out. There you saw a new block shed mechanic that AJ did right there. Again, the important thing here is he got into a block, but he didn't feel powerless. If we can go into the replay here and take a look at that. This is a big thing for me. I didn't want people to feel like they always had to switch off as soon as you're in a block. So what he's doing here is he's a defensive end. His job is to set that edge. And edges here. And he uses the button and actually sheds the block with the left stick in the direction. So he actually ends up adding on to this tackle here. It's a nice, I wouldn't call it a gang tackle, but it's a nice three-man tackle. I know my Sim Standard guys are going to love to see that animation right there with multiple guys attaching on. We got a lot more work to do with gang tackles, but you can see it's gotten a lot better this year. But again, you don't need to feel powerless when you're engaged in a block this year. You can actually sit there, hold your gap, X in a direction to play a disengage or a block shed.
I keep getting late.
Oh, didn't get open in time.
Too much time in the pocket by RG, didn't get that ball out quick enough. You
that-
also saw that AJ was late with the jump to snap, and he got completely crushed by the offensive lineman.
The new zone coverage logic had me messed up right there. That hook zone was all over my crossing route.
Actually, it'd be interesting if we could do a curl flat and show how the blue zone's played differently. You saw the box step. AJ was a little early there. Great play.
Some of those new SWAT animations are just amazing in the game.
Let's take a look at this replay. There you go.
So nice.
So, RG, something I found out just literally the other day that you could do in the game was when you are on offense, one of those little things is you can actually swat the ball away with the wide receiver.
And that was something. Shout out to my dude Rex right here, because I didn't know if we were going to be able to get it into the game. But when we went after a whole new inaccuracy system, there's one thing that I didn't want to happen was for the offensive user to feel completely just helpless when the ball was going to the defender and they had the receiver and they knew they couldn't make a catch. So now you could actually click onto your wide receiver, hold the R1 button, and your receiver will swat the ball down to prevent the defender from making an interception. And it comes in handy, and it's actually something that takes a lot of skill. I mean, you need to be able to judge when, you know, can I catch this? I can't. And it's a really good feeling when you pull it off at the right time.
That's the first time in 2 years that I've seen RG not go for it on 4th down, by the way. This man is not Sim.
He wouldn't have gotten it.
Hey, it's only a 4 or 5 minute quarter game. I bet you Belichick's not punting in a 4 or 5 minute quarter game. It's not Sim. I'm not Sim. I'm just trying to justify it.
True story, when Cam Newton was here, he went for it on 4th and 13, and I said to him, Cam, that's not Sim. And he's like, come on, coach, I need to go for it. And he ended up running triple option, not only did he get the pitch off and get the first down, but he actually ran himself as Cam downfield and made a lead block on the play after the pitch. It's pretty impressive. I got a video somewhere.
So that right there was not the greatest pass.
By the way, and shout out to our good friend Ace Boogie Cam Newton. He has been a stellar partner for us this year. He's been down here 4 or 5 times. He was here yesterday playing in a mutt tournament against some of our mutt champions. There you can see that new pass rush, applying some serious heat. If you saw there, he only had about 3 seconds to get that ball off. That is very realistic to an NFL blitz.
Yeah, one thing I love, Rex, this year is there's definitely a benefit to sending, you know, 5 over 4 or 6 over 5. The more pass rushes, the quicker that heat's coming. And that, you know, it seems like common sense, but that wasn't always something we delivered in Madden. For years, people would say, you know, I get the same pass rush when I rush 4s, when I rush 5, and that's not the case this year.
I need to see a replay on that. Man, there were some sick blocks on that play. Got to give a shout out to my boy Clint Oldenburg. Man, he has revolutionized blocking in this game. Let's take a look at that replay. See how this offensive line performed on this play. I know there have been some complaints with screen blocking, but let's take a look at these behaviors and how organic and natural they are. So there's our blocking core. Boom, flat back. 74 with a great cut block. And rewind that a little bit. Watch 29 actually reaching for the tackle while he's being cut. That's arm came out. He knew the ball carrier was there, and he tried to make a play on him. That's what Player Sense 2.0 is all about. It's legit. It's the real deal.
Tried to stumble recover there, and I mistimed it, so he fell over just shy. Man, I almost feel like going for it too, but I'm more Sim than RG.
Let's show the coffin corner. So this is how you coffin corner now. Previously, you had no idea where the ball was going to land. You see AJ here is positioning that arc to try and kick the ball out of bounds. He's a little shallow. Yep, that's returnable. Nice tackle in space. You can see that with the new tackling mechanics, he knows exactly what distance he needs to be to the ball carrier to hit that X button and make that play.
Going for the money play.
Outside run.
Better get in that outside run, D.
Oh, slowly get up.
Right, he's a little dinged up right there.
All right, I'm gonna get to him here.
You keep talking, but I'm not. Oh, spin move! Beautiful catch. So let's look at this play and replay. This is phenomenal. Not only did we get a beautiful pass rush move with the spin move, but we actually also got an inaccurate pass that was caught. So let's take a look at the left end. You see him engaging there with the right tackle. He engages the outside shoulder. Look at the spin move back to the inside. Gets right around the back. Doesn't even see him. He reacts late. Over. I heard some of you complaining in the forums about one of the trailers that when offensive linemen get beat, they just stand there, chop their feet, and stay upfield. Look at 24 and look at that right tackle. What are they doing? They're turning around and following that guy just like they would in real life. Now the key here is because there was pressure in his face as he threw it, he got an inaccurate pass. That actually almost hit his arm, and you could see that the pass is inaccurate, and one of our new pass animations right here, it's out in front, but he's still able to make a play on it. You see the defender there's a little bit behind, tries to get a swat, doesn't get it. Big play, bailed him out of pressure right there. And that's a combination of multiple features working together in concert. The pass rush mechanics, the pass accuracy system, the new catch system, all coming together to make a beautiful looking play.
All right, Rex, do you want to see if we got some questions from the chat in here?
As long as none of those questions are about 2K football, the answer is yes.
All right, let's get to that here in a second. RG, if you guys want to go ahead and continue playing, and I'll ask the questions.
Sounds good.
People are wanting to see it. A lot of people asking, talking about the visuals, blitzes. When will the ratings come out? Soon. I will give you a soon.
Monday, Jenica says.
Monday. Not all of them, but some of them on Monday. Marcus is going to send me some questions. All right, Rex, the pressure's on now.
RG, come on.
Hey,
This ain't pressure.
EAN House Super Bowl champion, baby.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
No, he just won the Gen 3 and Gen 4 internal Madden tournaments, but I can still take him to the woodshed in the weight room. So
Rex got that. He's a beast, man. Just look at the dunks.
RG, can you try out the pass defense against out routes? Try that out.
Okay.
I kind of want to see. I kind of want to show people, because one thing that I've noticed a lot playing the game is that running zones, like, defenders are jumping those balls really quick and picking me off, especially on the higher difficulty level.
Yeah. For the viewers at home, we'll show you right now, but you're not going to have to worry about the out routes like you did in previous Maddens. The way flat zones play, the way buzz zones play, it's night and day.
What do you want me to call here?
We'll give you a look right now. Go ahead and call a cover 3. Let's call a cover 3. I'll call a strong flood. That's a concept that everybody usually likes to run.
And again, I want to point out here that the game's getting more realistic, and for those of you that maybe aren't like massive like NFL buffs and you understand, we'll introduce all these concepts to you. It'll teach you how to read a zone pre-snap. It'll even teach you where the weak spots in the zone and what routes will beat it. So, if you're struggling with the game this year, 2 recommendations for you. Jump in Skills Trainer, and I would recommend starting the game on Pro until you feel comfortable with it. It is quite a bit harder this year due to the game becoming more realistic. And again, Skills Trainer will teach you all the tools you need to be successful in this game if you're willing to put the time in and learn them. Great mode, by the way. Great job on that by my buddy Danny Doberling, the producer, designer on that mode, and Vic Destorino, the engineer on that mode. By the way, everything in Skills Trainer was built by 2 people, and that's it.
Play offense.
So, as you can see right here, the X guy, the X slot receiver right there is in out route. I'm going to go ahead and call cover 3. I'm going to do a little protect the sticks just because I know that there's a swing route coming out there. I don't want the flat to drop down. So you go ahead and snap the ball, AJ. As you can see, he's all over that out route right there. And last year, that wouldn't have been the case on that play. That out route would have been open, and it was very frustrating trying to stop that. When I say zone cover, when I just say coverage in general is better this year, believe me, people, coverage is the real deal.
Yeah, if you're one of those people who just calls Hail Mary every play and tosses it up, you're going to have a bad time, okay? Learn to make good reads. Learn to make your slants, your quick outs. You know, high percentage passes are critical this year. I would say running a balanced offense is critical this year. You got to have a running game to complement your passing game. RG, would you say that the old tactic of dropping everyone into coverage, is that less effective this year than it has been in the past, or less necessary?
Oh, yeah, so coverage defense has been an issue in Madden for years. People usually like to drop 10 defenders back, and a lot of people didn't know how to handle that. For some reason, you would still be able to stop the run out of those coverage defenses, which isn't something that would have happened in real life at all. Our dev team did a fantastic job of ensuring that the run game will be successful against those coverage defenses. So if you're seeing somebody and they're playing this 10, 11-man coverage against you, please call a halfback draw, run the ball. I guarantee you will have success this year.
All right, will turbo blitzing be fixed in Madden 15?
It is absolutely fixed in Madden 15 due to the off-the-line mechanic. They no longer get that quick jump when you were pressing right trigger. It was something I checked right away, and that's definitely addressed in Madden 15.
I will say, like, we just had the MUT tournament yesterday, and one guy found a nano where he's like doing, I don't know, he must have done like 15 different pre-play adjustments, pinched the line, spread, slid, whatever he did. He found one. Our engineers are fixing it right now. We have gone out of our way to make sure that these exploits are out of the game this year. Part of it was just hiring guys like RG who come from the tournament circuit, are ranked players, but also, you know, our game, the rest of the guys giving us feedback, telling us what was working, what wasn't working, and allowing the dev team to really hammer these exploits out of the game that is ruining online tournament play.
Is the pistol run still overpowering?
No,
one question.
So the pistol run, I don't want to say it's overpowered. It can still be effective, but with those new wide 9 type defenses, you could definitely look to lock those up. And pursuit has improved as well in Madden. So the bottom line is, before in Madden, you could get away with just running the same plays over and over again. But like Rex said, you need to run some read option. You need to run a little bit of off tackle out of it. You need to run the dive. You need to mix it up really well and kind of take what the defense is giving you. You're not going to be able to just go in, call a play blindly, run it against any defense and be successful. So my answer to that is it's effective, but it's definitely not overpowered.
Yeah, it's like our coaches tell us the pistol formation is here to stay. Like the Wildcats kind of came and had its moment, and now it's kind of less used. But all the coaches, Coach Madden, Coach Moore, all the people we work with tell us that the pistol is definitely big and it's definitely here to stay.
All right, so I'm gonna real quick. RG, okay, so can you show an example of cover 2 in this game? This guy says it's never been quite right in his eyes. You guys, so he'd like to see cover 2.
Let's blow him away real quick because cover 2 is absolutely fantastic this year. So why don't you go ahead, Rex, call you a cover 2 zone right there.
The number two receiver goes vertical. The corner should stay on top of the number 1 receiver. Also, there's no curl.
And let's take a look at that. Let's watch this. Rex is in the cover 2 right here. I'm gonna send this square receiver on the left on a fly route. Let's take a look. As you can see, the defender dropped back with him until he was passed off to that deep zone defender, where before he kind of presses him, lets him go, and doesn't float with him.
Now, can you call curl flat so we can show how they play, split those two, like how they split the curl and the flat?
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing, to answer his question, Rex, if you press the triangle button real quick, as you can see, we have coverage adjustments, and if you see by pressing triangle and then moving the right stick either up, down, left, or right, you can dictate what type of coverage your defense is going to play. So if you want your cover 2 corner to ride the receiver going up and continue to leverage them, you just press triangle up on the right stick, and that puts your defenders in an over-the-top type of coverage technique. So, and you could do that with you could do that with inside. You could have your defense play a shade inside coverage technique, a shade outside coverage technique, play underneath, and it's one of my favorite features by far in the game.
Yeah, and one thing too, like that we're seeing in this game is we're playing with two of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. Peyton Manning, arguably the best in the NFL. And so we're not seeing as many inaccurate passes. But when you start seeing those inaccurate passes, that's when you're going to see a lot more interceptions as well, too. And those zone
I see somebody on there said, did you fix 9? It definitely shuts it down. I also saw somebody say, did you fix trucking? We absolutely did. The truck glitch and the stiff arm glitch are out of the game. You won't see that anymore. So I'll just keep looking over my shoulder.
Deep zone. Okay, you can read these if you want.
One thing we'll do real quick, AJ. Let me. Why don't you go ahead and call a pass play, and I'm going to call cover 2 with the over-the-top coverage adjustment,
okay.
And you can see him kind of, ride him over the top. How that works.
What do you want me to call?
You could, something. Send someone deep. Verticals is fine. If you find a vertical play, maybe.
I saw somebody's asking about the zone chuck animations. I'll be on the lookout. When I see one, I'll hit the replay and we'll take a look at it.
So I'm going to call over the top right now. This is a cover 2 press. And let's see the depth at which my defenders drop at.
Who do you want me to throw it to?
You can go to, doesn't matter.
Oh.
As you can see, I don't know if we go into replay there, the flat zone defenders, after calling that, drop back as far as 10 yards on that play. And that's because even though they're in flats, I called over the top coverage, so they have no problem dropping back that deep. I'm just going to go into replay real quick and show them.
We can try that again.
So as you just watch this guy, and he drops back at least 10 yards, and then you see him go and actually look for work. As he sees someone come back into his zone, he'll go and play it. So
nice.
That was a great example of the mechanic working correctly.
Call a pass play. I want to see if we can get a zone chuck to play. I know you guys have seen it in the trailer video, but it's much more impressive when you see it in action. Outside of in his area, the key is that it can affect your route timing. So the timing that you'd expect to be there, if he gets chucked, the timing is going to get thrown off.
All right, I'll let RG do it then. Throwing picks with Rivers.
Will there be team-specific plays and formations? Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
I think we've had that most years. There's some good stuff this year, especially in the defensive playbooks. We've done a lot of work. The emphasis this year was on the defensive playbooks, but the playbooks are pretty solid this year. I'm a huge fan of the Eagles playbook.
Oh, that Chip Kelly playbook's nasty.
You can still make defensive adjustments at the same speed. The audible delay only applies to offense. Oh, AJ just got owned.
Crushed. And that time I picked I picked a finesse move with a power guy.
Yep. And one thing, it's pretty minor, Rex, but it's just simply a bug fix that's going to make a big difference to some of the hardcore users out there. There used to be somewhat of a delay when you would kind of break the huddle and try to make a defensive adjustment right away. We worked with the engineers this year. That's gone. So it just feels as responsive as it can, and it's a great feeling. It really helps when you're trying to make defensive adjustments during the pre-play. Good grab swat.
So that's what we call a rip swat. It's basically a technique a defender can play to try to punch the ball out right at the catch point. Previous swats, he might just run over and swat the ball down. This is actually the ball's in the receiver's hands, and he can reach his hand in and try to punch it out. You see a lot of that from our higher-rated defensive backs this year.
Good tackle.
See if you can sit your linebacker shallow and get a zone chuck on a drag or something, or slant.
It's way, okay, let me punt the ball off to AJ.
Here, you can have the ball back. Keep sending us questions.
Yeah, so that question about if you only rush 1 or 2 players, we only support 2 linemen in a double team at any one time, but as soon as that guy gets off that block, a 3rd lineman can come in and pick it up or knock him on his ass.
So the easiest way for us to get this zone check, I'm gonna run the ball real quick. Why don't you come out in quarters, and I'm gonna put myself in about a 3rd and short, 2nd and short situation here. And then we're gonna run some drag routes. You're gonna call cover 2, and I want you to protect the sticks in that situation, and you're going to see that they come down and start pressing those drag routes. It's fantastic.
Player models are definitely not the same this year. I just got this question about player models are too bulky. The problem is last year we basically had one size fits all. And this year we've introduced something called body blends, which allows us to make, the arms bigger, the calves bigger. Johnny Manziel looks really tiny under center versus other guys. As we actually have done a lot of work on making players look like their actual selves. I think it's just the tip of the iceberg. We have a long way to go, but you will see a lot of variation in players.
And let's press triangle, triangle.
All right, I'm protecting the sticks.
So we should get some chunks by the linebackers right here on, oh gee, 2-minute warning.
I got it.
I just got a question about defensive assignments. It's very high on our list of full game assignments. Obviously, you can hot route those on a per play basis, but doing a full game defensive assignment is very high on our list of priorities that we want to get to. Not in this year. Oof, big pass rush.
You kind of saw it at the end right there.
Let's take a look in replay.
So hopefully it still shows in the replay.
It's a nice 2-man post play action right there.
Hopefully it...
Yeah, I timed all of that right with where.
Kind of see,
There's a zone. What we call a neutral, meaning he didn't really offset that guy's route too much, but some of the more severe ones, he'll. Guys, this isn't the full implementation of the wide receiver D-back feature that you want. We're going big on that feature in the future.
All right. I'm about to try to score here, AJ, on this one, so.
All right.
I'm going.
Notice he says try, like there's just zero confidence. Do or do not.
Oh no, I got hit. But I'm still
What a
mossy.
catch!
You're gonna have to get. We got drills and skills trainer that help you get your stick work up a little bit.
I couldn't get my guy there. That was a nice catch, though.
I'm so excited for this game this year. I can't wait for it to come out, start playing people online. I think this is, like Rex said, I can't stress it enough. This is probably the best balanced Madden that we've had ever.
Oh, what a play.
And you can be effective on defense, you can be effective on offense, you could pass the ball, you could run the ball. It's just really a fun game to play, and I really think this is the best one we've ever put out.
Yeah, this might not be the penultimate 90-plus rated Madden that you all want it to be, and believe me, nobody wants that more than us, but I will say that if you've been away for a while, maybe you've been away for a few years, you're not sure, I would actually tell you this is the year to come back. This is the year we kind of turn the corner and are heading back up in that direction to get this game where it needs to be. I strongly would encourage you to, if you're not going to buy the game, at least try it out. See for yourself. But we honestly believe, a lot of die-hard long-term Madden fans here, this is the best version of Madden we've ever built. It's not where we need to be yet, but it's certainly the best we've ever created.
It's fantastic.
Is there a picture drawing of you kissing your wife on your phone? All right, here we go. What else we got? So we're going to have to cut it off here pretty soon because the presentation guys didn't want to blow their halftime story show. We got a new halftime show this year. It's pretty phenomenal. But we're going to cut it off just before we get to that.
Okay.
So hopefully somebody can actually...
Oh no, I got marked though. Then there's that jump break on the throw.
Look at that replay. I want to just show you, we talked Previously tight ends getting off the line with a DN or a linebacker over them wasn't our best moment. So we'll take a look at it here, and you'll see how player sense plays a factor here. We'll watch our tight end here releasing on this route. He's got to get past this DN. We didn't have a good solution for this before. Watch what happens now. They actually play an interaction. Look how quick that is. And there you see it right there.
Just waited too long on this one.
And there's RG, making a terrible. He talks a big game. I know he's been in the Madden tournament and all this stuff and winning tournaments, but plays like that, you got to wonder.
Jeez.
Any improvements to man defense? Absolutely. Basically, what happened is we built a whole new prediction logic for the pass they take to play the ball. So if he's even in position, like in trail and right on your hip and man, and you try to force that ball in there, he has the ability to undercut it and make a pick. Great swat on that play by the defensive back. You could see, some great momentum there. He was off balance and falling backwards, and he swatted, and you see his momentum carried him in. One of the features we haven't talked a lot about is organic falls this year. It's basically building a lot more momentum. Get hit or collide, that they fall organically. We're no longer those animations for falling are now physics driven and organic.
Well, I'm throwing bad passes. Defense is tough, guys. That's a good thing, but I need some practice, Rex.
Yeah, you definitely don't.
I need to spend some time in the lab with RG here.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to get out there and just start chucking. You want to have a good scheme, and luckily in Skills Trainer, we teach you how to do that this year. For people that aren't familiar with it, we teach you all types of different pass concepts, and it's fantastic.
Tackling actually feels really fun too when you make a nice open field tackle.
I was a big face flop with tackling, and this year I feel like I can make open field tackles all over the field. It's all about trusting that. And compare it back to the vision cone thing, but trust me, if you leave, I strongly recommend you leave that tackle cone on for your first couple games until you start to get used to the distances to trigger your tackles. Once in the settings, but it will make you a better tackler in Madden, almost guaranteed.
Yeah, I would recommend everybody at least give it a week. Using it for the first week when we implemented it really helped me understand the mechanic and has really helped me master it. Kind of like I mastered my
RG, this guy wants to know if will purple zone stop deep corner routes?
Yes, absolutely, and especially if you use that outside coverage technique we talked about. You got those pre-play defensive adjustments, and that's exactly why they're there. If you know somebody's going to run a corner route, shade it to the outside, and they will leverage that corner route to the outside, both in man and in zone. The thing is, when you're in man, not just because you shade outside, though, doesn't mean, and we're about to go to halftime, let me stop so we don't steal their thunder.
You got to try and score. Oh, no.
Yeah, well, just because you shade somebody in man doesn't mean they'll necessarily lock that route up if they don't have the man coverage rating to do so. However, if you got a guy like Sherman and you shade to the outside, there's no way that corner route gets open.
Yep.
Very cool. Any more, guys, before we go ahead and...
Is hit stick still in? Yes, hit stick still in. There's two ways to perform it now. So basically, you can use classic legacy hit stick by flicking the right stick. Very popular mechanic. While we wanted to revise tackling mechanics, we felt it was pretty important to leave that mechanic in the game for people who like it. But the way hit stick works with the new mechanics is basically the X button from close range. In other words, like near inside the tackle cone will perform a hit stick, and X outside the tackle cone will perform a dive tackle. And any changes to ball hawk and deep balls? No, ball hawk works the same way it's worked previously. It is my preferred way of playing pass defense. I know some guys like to click on late and hit that button, but for me, I like to hold that Y button and let the game drive me to the aggressive point. RG?
Yeah, the only change in ball hawk that I would put out there is defenders are more aggressive. So there was plenty of times last year where you throw it up to Calvin and the defender would kind of just sit there and helplessly look at Calvin, just get nasty on him. Now they'll aggressively at least try to make a play on the ball, which is a great feeling when it happens.
Very cool. All right, guys. think it's about time to wrap it up. Anything else to add before we go?
I mean, as we said, we're pretty proud of this year's game. We really hope most of you come out and pick it up August 26th when it hits stores. Definitely RG hopes to see you online so he can stomp you.
Yeah, hopefully.
Obviously, if you have any questions, feel free to tweet it to our PR guys, and we'll try to get it answered.
In stores August 26th. See you guys next time.
Thank you.
Did it work?
It works.
Is that okay?
Actually, it never.
Don't forget, guys, every Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, Sim Standard Radio. If you want to give us a call, you can reach us at 914-338-0794.